Irie friends, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be doing everything asparagus. Ziggy is joining us today. He wants to go inside, but I need some company, so he's gonna stay outside with me. I purchased my asparagus crowns approximately 2 or 3 years ago. I did not plant them in the traditional way, honestly, which is why I wanted to do a video of how I planted them. I planted them both in ground and in a planter, and I've had success with both of those methods. So I want to firstly show you a video. I'd taken some videos back when I first planted the asparagus, and I'll show you also how I'm going to be moving them. I initially just planted all of them along the wall, but what happens when the asparagus crowns are done, they shoot up a lot of leafy greens, which is essentially there to restore back that energy into the crowns. But what happens is when they're done doing that, it becomes brown and it just does not look as good. So because this is a center point of my garden, I just want to kind of move them out the way so they're not as much of a bother as they have been. And also because they have so much space in between them, this area can get really weedy. So I'm planning to also plant them a lot closer than it's recommended and have them in a shadier area. Asparagus can do with some partial shade. So first, I'm going to show you how I planted them. So before I laid out the asparagus crowns to plant them, I first rehydrated the crowns in some water. And it's normally recommended when planting asparagus to dig a trench and then create a mound for the asparagus, and then you'll lay the asparagus roots over the mound, and then you'll continue to backfill the asparagus crowns as it grow. Well, this area that I picked is mainly because it's the groundhog route, and although groundhog tends to eat basically everything, they usually avoid asparagus if there's other things to eat. So this was the best place for it at the time. And also because there's a lot of rocks underneath, I wasn't able to build a trench. So I was kind of in a pickle as to how I'm going to plant these. So this is how I just decided to give it a try and just laid out the asparagus crowns flat, covered it with cow manure, and at this point I'm covering it with some granular fertilizer. I believe it's either plant tone or garden tone. And then after that, I just watered it in and crossed my fingers. And it actually turned out really well. Like the crowns every year, not the crowns, sorry. The spares every year are getting larger and larger. The root system, when you see it after I dig it out in a few minutes, you'll see that they have expanded immensely. And, I didn't do the traditional method. Mines are spaced like 6 inches apart. It's going to be spaced even closer, where the recommended spacing is like 12 to 18. But I've been getting good results, so I wanted to share that with you guys. You can see we have some crowns coming up. I would have ideally liked to move them maybe 2 weeks ago before they started shooting up new crowns, but it is what it is. They are looking really good, and you could see the specific clumps. So they're all pretty much spread out all along here, and then I have some up top there, and I'm just going to move them all behind that pomegranate. This is a Russian variety of pomegranate. They're supposed to be able to take a lot more cold. So I planted this up here, and I'm hoping that it just kind of bushes out here and look really nice. And then along here, I don't really go as much, and because it's shaded by this tree as well, I needed something that wouldn't get as tall but could also tolerate the shade, and I feel like the asparagus is perfect. So I went ahead and grabbed my shovel. Initially, I just wanted to use a little trowel, but I think I'll have a better chance of getting all the roots at one time if I just go ahead and use my larger shovel. So we're just going to work on getting them out, and then we're going to arrange them in the area that I want to plant them, and then we'll bury them, and later on we'll see how that goes. I'm pretty sure that they'll do pretty well, but let's see. Here's one clump. That looks pretty good. So this would be a good time if you're thinking of maybe sharing. You can go ahead and split these apart and share your asparagus crowns. These are all the crowns. I threw them down here because it also helped to get rid of some of the soil around it. They'll have a better time being relocated if they don't have a bunch of like clump of soil. So the bare root for the asparagus comes 10 per order, and I believe I purchased about 2 orders of each type. So I have the purple asparagus and I also have the millennium asparagus. And just like the strawberries, they tell you do not take any harvest from them within that first year, that first season. But when they were growing the asparagus crowns, I was actually getting crowns that first season, and I did eat it, and I'm going to continue doing things like that. It's partly cloudy and it's going to rain, so this is like the perfect day to transplant, divide, anything, because you move them, you put them back in place, and then the rainwater just kind of settle them down in their new planting place. So I'm going to try to quickly just arrange these crowns in the area and go from there. I should also mention that you don't have to go the route of buying crowns. You can, go ahead and purchase seeds and start your asparagus from seeds, although I do not recommend it because you're going to have to wait an additional 2 to 3 years. It's fun to kind of see it go through all the stages, but when it comes to like harvesting and production of my food, I rather spend a little bit more and harvest sooner. For Start Bros, I know towards the end of the season, they'll have sales on the asparagus, where for me, I purchased them for about $4.99 for about 10, and that's definitely worth it for me. The space is about maybe 4 to 6 inches deep. I moved the bare roots from over that end, and I mainly shook out most of the dirt because there's been some weed issue. I have some wild garlic that grows within it. Look, there's like rocks in between it, and I just want to make sure I'm not bringing that bad weeds, bringing the weeds to the new location. So I shook off most of the dirt to inspect the roots and to make sure that none of them are hiding within it. And I'm just laying them. I'm not giving them the spacing that they say. At this point, I've been growing them for 3 years now, and I really don't feel like the spacing is necessarily required. And I've had good results even keeping them spaced out, and as you can see, when I was digging them up, they stayed in their clumps. I don't need them to spread out anymore because I have so much. So I'm going to be planting them literally right next to each other. This is how the bare roots come, and this is what they this is what they expand to. So you see that? That's the difference. That's crazy. There's a lot of little rocks. My husband had added them on top of here before I knew I was going to plant, and the asparagus were just fine with having these rocks. And I am surprised I'm over here working on this rock wall without any fear, because I would not normally be over here, and I'm trying not to even look above me, because all them little spaces, all I start thinking about is, okay, you see, let me use this shovel. So all the asparagus has been relocated, at least the ones on the bottom row. I still have about 3 more on the top that I'm gonna ask my husband to go up there and take out. I like the spacing here. It's really just about 2 inches apart. And then I'm gonna come back in and take off most of these dead stalks from the previous year. But I kept them on right now so that you could have a better idea of how far everything is. So you could see here, it's not very far at all. Some are closer than some are further away, some are a little deeper, so they're hiding a bit. But I really jam-packed them in this space. I think the rest of them, I'm just going to have him clean up here a little bit and plant the rest of them here. I like that they are all isolated just on this side of the wall in the shade of this tree, and now I don't have to worry about trying to find something that would do well here. I'm thinking of maybe moving this pomegranate a little bit over some, but I don't know, for some reason it seems just right. But I know in terms of its growth, it's going to need a little bit more spacing, and once it gets taller and starts to branch out, it's going to shade those a little bit more that I want them to be shaded. So I think if I move it over just to maybe this rock here, that would be perfect. But this is how it's looking for now. And yeah, initially when I planted them out along this rock wall, my plan was to have them in the back and then plant strawberries in the front, since it's a full sun area and asparagus grows really well with strawberries. But like I said, that didn't work out. It was just crazy amount of weeds because of the space in between them. So hopefully now that they're a little bit closer, we'll have less issues when it comes to weeds. We're going to use 1 turtle shell full of chicken poop. This is rainwater, guys, that I collected. And this will just help the soil settle. There's some right here. Thank you. So that is going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, Irie yourself. Bye.